talking about interoperability with our partners. I arrived here early this morning from El Salvador, where 4th Recon Battalion is working alongside their Naval Infantry Brigade, and the aspects of interoperability, human, procedural, and technical. I think the Marine Corps has always done a wonderful job with that human interoperability, procedural interoperability. What we struggle with is the technical piece, and in particular, the command and control systems that allow us and our partners to see a battlefield in the same way. So I think we reinforce our strengths at human and procedural interoperability. The reason the El Salvadoran Naval Infantry Brigade thinks the same way that we do is because they've been to the basic school. They've been to the School of Infantry. They've been to the infantry officer course. The procedures and the warfighting thinking is the same, but it's the technical expertise that we struggle with, and that's the piece that we could use some help with, a common operational picture, common command and control systems, and that we can see and talk to each other at the technical level here.
I think all of us have grown up understanding what a single battle is from a Marine Corps perspective. You know, actions on one part of the battlefield impact actions across the entire battlefield. Now it is, what's the joint single battle and what is the joint coalition single battle? And if you think about being able to understand what's happening on one part of the battlefield and recognize it impacts the other, then you better be interoperable to some extent. And then you better understand what the adversary is doing to take away that interoperability as well. And so being good enough with data and et cetera to maneuver through your PACE plan, looking for opportunity is important, and then look at the complexity, allies and partners in interoperability with them brings into a already friction-filled environment. So we have to get after that interoperability. And also, if you're thinking about closing, at least in the Pacific where we are, closing joint and allied kill webs, you can't do it if you're not interoperable. If you cannot pass targeting data to some other shooter, then you'll lose. We'll miss an opportunity to bring some combined arms effect, multi-domain, multi-axis against the adversary. And so I think it's critically important we keep moving towards that. I would just close with saying is that we should be excited that our partners and our coalition partners in particular are fast following our modernization initiatives in many, many ways. And so they recognize the value of Maven Smart System and they're moving towards it. And we just got to keep closing seams and gaps there.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. Great insights in both where we're at today, where we're going, and also many great examples of how we're looking to bridge that gap today. For the last few minutes, we'll turn it over for some questions from the audience for the panel.
Great, thanks. First question is for Major General Sullivan. You mentioned drone observations changing unit behavior. What behaviors are changing because of that drone threat? And what are you seeing outside of protective netting on how your units are adapting?
Thanks, sir. I appreciate that. So just let me expand on a few things there. And so we're looking beyond 2nd Marine Division, obviously. When I was in my last job at CDD and we were testing some of this dismounted organic counter-UAS systems that we're now fielding, I got a chance to meet some Marines from Tom Savage is in here who taught at 1st Marine Division schools. And I'm not too proud to borrow a play from someone else's playbook, but I thought the way 1st Marine Division approached their division schools was really good. And that's where I saw the first battalion level SOP for counter-UAS, even though we didn't really have a lot of new systems. We didn't have any new systems fielded at that point. And so that's the approach we've taken in 2nd Marine Division, where the Division Training Center is really trying to bridge the gap between what the service is not able to provide yet, but will eventually for signature management, UAS, counter-UAS type, threats and capabilities. When I first got to 2nd Marine Division and went out to see the 1st McCree, we had a team from the United States Naval Academy. Their drone attack team came out with their orbs And we did one event where, while a unit, Victor 1-6, 1st Battalion 6th Marines was in the defense, we attacked them with the drone swarm. And you could see, the Marines do what Marines do. They reacted and did their best, but you could tell they weren't used to it. And so I saw that type of behavior in some other field exercises because we weren't flying drones against them. We were using some of the Blue UAS from Tulsa that units can sign out and employ for their own ISR capability. But they weren't used to having, they weren't used to being under observation. And so, when you see a unit culminate and go from the offense to the defense, I wouldn't say that every individual action I was seeing was from somebody who should realize that they're being seen and could potentially be struck by an adversary FPV or something of that nature. So that's what we're driving now in 2nd Marine Division. I'm not saying that we're there yet, but as we fly Red UAS and we film both in EO, IR, and other domains so we can play it back at the end of the McCree so a unit can see what they look like from an adversary perspective, that starts to drive the point home in terms of how vulnerable you can be if you're not thinking about